The story begins on a bright summer day at the Avengers mansion in New York City. Jarvis was pouring a cup of coffee for the Wasp, while Captain Britain was enjoying her lunch. Ant-Man asks Hawkeye who is his favorite woman that he could never have, and Clint says Madam Hydra is very sexy, especially with her green hair and green leather. She-Hulk listened in on the conversations and called him a pig, but Clint says he can't help but have a thing for her, maybe because of all the green. Their friendly banter was cut short when an unidentified person destroyed one of the walls and entered the compound. It was Jack of Hearts, a former Avenger who was killed some time ago, but something was very wrong. He looked barely alive, resembling a zombie, but managed to speak and say he was sorry. Then out of nowhere, his body exploded, destroying a big portion of the mansion and instantly killing Ant-Man. The other Avengers recovered unharmed, but they had no idea what just happened. They went outside and found a giant crater where Jack of Hearts exploded, but there was no sign of Ant-Man. The only thing left of him was his skinless hand. Meanwhile, across town, Iron Man is addressing the United Nations in his capacity as U.S. Secretary of Defense, but he gets distracted when he sees the delegate from Latveria. Tony loses control and goes all out on the delegate, calling the Latveria leader a terrorist and saying they need to unite their forces and wipe that country off the face of the map. He was taken off stage and he tells Wanda he has no idea what came over him. He swears he is not drunk, saying he has been clean for many months now. Wanda gets an alert on her phone, the Avengers Code White, the highest priority call asking all available members to come to the mansion. S.H.I.E.L.D. had already surrounded the mansion and was securing the area when Captain America noticed something in the sky. The Vision was piloting one of the Quinjets and was flying towards them, but he wasn't slowing down. He crashes inside the mansion, creating yet another explosion, but this time, nobody was injured. The Vision emerges from the fire and says he is sorry, but he no longer controls his body. And just like with Jack of Hearts, his face looked different. He opens his mouth and spits out several metal balls while the captain asks everyone to fall back. These metal balls transform into many Ultron-shaped robots that instantly attack the Avengers. Captain America leads the attack and jumps on one of the drones, managing to take it down. He then uses his shield to decapitate it, telling everyone to go for their heads. Hawkeye, the Falcon, and She-Hulk followed the captain's orders and took out more of the drones. But something wasn't right, and She-Hulk began to lose control, taking her rage out on Vision and prompting her to ask him why Ant-Man was killed. But Vision was already dead and couldn't reply, so she broke his body in half. But she didn't stop there and continued her attacks on the other Avengers, throwing a truck on top of the captain. Eventually, Iron Man arrives and knocks her out with a strong punch right to her jaw. The aftermath of this whole incident was devastating. Ant-Man and the Vision were both dead, while Captain Britain, She-Hulk, and the Wasp were all hospitalized. Tony Stark believes that everything that happened today is connected, including what happened to him at the United Nations, but Hank Pym doesn't believe him, saying he was there and Tony was drunk. Tony used to be an alcoholic, but says he stopped drinking, and he was sober today, but the others didn't trust him, so he flew away. The captain wanted to return to the mansion to investigate the site for possible clues, trying to make sense of everything that happened today, but he was greeted with a shocking sight. The Avengers SOS that was sent out earlier today was heard by all the heroes in the country, and they all responded. Black Panther says they were all Avengers at one point in time and they all came to offer their support, but Colonel Fury wasn't too thrilled about this. He says that the mansion is a crime scene and they are all interfering with possible evidence and asks them to leave. Out of nowhere, a giant Kree ship appeared in the sky and launched an attack on New York. As if this day wasn't bad enough, the heroes were now faced with an impending Kree invasion and everyone sprung into action. Luckily, all of the heroes were gathered in New York City, and Hawkeye says they picked the wrong day to screw with the Avengers. Clint goes on a solo rampage against the Kree, killing as many as he could with his bow, but he was shot in the back with a powerful energy blast. He says he doesn't want to go down like a coward, and jumps on one of the Kree soldiers that had a jetpack. Together they launch themselves into the air and fly directly into the giant spaceship, causing a giant explosion that breaks the ship in half. This forces the Kree soldiers to retreat, but sadly Hawkeye was killed in the explosion. But something wasn't right again. The spaceship wasn't made out of metal, but something none of them could explain. That's when Doctor Strange arrives and says the nature of these attacks is magic, and everything that happened today is connected. Many months ago, the Wasp and Wanda Maximoff were enjoying a beautiful day beside the pool, and Janet says she thought she was pregnant because her period was late. Luckily, it was a false alarm, because it's literally impossible for an Avenger to have children, and Wanda thought she could have two. Wanda asks her what she meant by that, but Janet quickly changed the subject, saying she's going inside because she needs to pee. But Wanda knew she was hiding something from her. Doctor Strange says that Wanda was behind the attack today because she is the only one strong enough to do this. She is Magneto's daughter, and she was born with incredible powers that she did not earn, powers she never fully understood or was able to control. Her powers allow her to change reality, and even create things that aren't real. She wanted to have children, but because she couldn't have them naturally, she created them. With help from Agatha Harkness, they were able to wipe her memory and make her forget that tragic event. But every time Wanda uses her powers to alter reality, she loses control over her mind. Strange leads the heroes to where Wanda was hiding, and together they confront her. But Wanda created villains and former allies and forced them to fight each other. She used her powers to create her children once again, and watched as the heroes attacked each other. But Doctor Strange confronts her and asks her to stop this madness because she is hurting her friends and herself. She refused to back down, saying she won't allow him to take her children away from her ever again. Strange powered up and used the Eye of Agamotto to show her the truth, saying she will stop this madness, and that these magics are not hers to abuse. This causes Wanda to black out and drop from the sky, but the captain ran towards and caught her before she hit the ground. Because her mind was already in a delicate place, Strange was able to put her to sleep, and Magneto came to pick up his daughter. Magneto says that Xavier was right. She was behind all these attacks, and he is sorry. The heroes ask him where he plans on taking her, but he didn't say anything and just flew away together. The heroes gathered inside the Avengers mansion to remember the fallen heroes. Ant-Man, Vision, and Hawkeye all lost their lives, because Wanda's mind deteriorated so much to the point where she was a danger to the entire world. She-Hulk blames herself for killing the Vision, but Janet says it wasn't her fault. His body was already destroyed by Wanda when she broke him in half. Sadly, after everything that happened at the United Nations, Tony Stark lost all of his credibility and support inside the government, and says he doesn't have the funds to support the Avengers anymore. He was literally using half of his fortune to keep the Avengers alive. Keeping the mansion running wasn't cheap. The Avengers agree to disband and begin talking about their future plans away from this place. Hank Pym asks Iron Man what was his best moment as an Avenger, if he had to pick just one moment. Tony says the best thing they ever did was getting together in the first place. He was still getting used to the armor, and got to go on incredible adventures with his fellow teammates, including Hulk. The Wasp's greatest moment was when they found Captain America still frozen, saying they found him in the perfect moment when the country needed him the most. The rest of the heroes each remember some of their greatest moments spent as an Avenger, but sadly, all good things come to an end. They have one final dinner and Captain America gives a big toast in honor of all of their fallen Avengers, including Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Vision, Jack Hart, Swordsman, Dr. Druid, and many others. However, what followed next was a beautiful moment that none of them really expected. The people of New York City surrounded the Avengers mansion to pay their respects to the group of heroes that time and time again sacrificed their own lives to save others.